welcome to the Lovebird Lane vlogs. I am your host, I am Julianne, and it's been a little while since we've done this. Granger has decided that he would like to play with one of his toys. We've just had the lovely Catherine come by and pick up an order, so she got to meet Granger and he's a bit excited because he got to meet someone new. So yes, he's now wanting to play with me right as I sit down to record. So if you hear some stepping around and some shuffling, that would be Granger. Alright, well, it's been a little while since I've done one of these. I don't think I've done any roundups. I think I did a day in the life back in August or September, early September. I did just do Vlogmas, so there's some not super interesting videos in there. I don't have a very exciting life, but if you'd like to see my December or some of my December, I didn't record every day, those videos are all available now on the channel. And before we go much further, I'd like to wish you all a happy new year. I hope you did have a good Christmas season and a good start to 2023. It is the 5th of January. I was almost going to say December. I don't know where I am, but it's the 5th of January and I have a few projects that I would like to share with you, so I might get on with that first. First up, I finished some socks. So I only have one though because I seem to have mislaid the other one up in my spare bedroom, and so, but I can still show you this one. This was a pair of socks and they are called the Cadence Socks. So that's the pattern. The pattern is written by Very Busy Monkey and I knit them on my own yarn, Lovebird Lane yarns, and this is my Bellini colorway on my BFL nylon base. And this is a pattern that I've knit quite a few times before. I do really enjoy this pattern. It's very simple, like it looks very involved, but it's actually very, very simple. These are not cables, these are actually like traveling stitches, so it gives the look of cables but it is not cables, so it's a lot easier. If you can do a slip knit and a knit two together, you can knit these socks, and yarn overs obviously. And gathering if you're knitting socks at all, you probably know how to do those stitches. So I just did the heel, I think, that was written in the pattern. So I think I mentioned this in my August vlog. I'm kind of moving a little bit away from doing the Fish Lips Kiss heel on my socks, and I just was having issues getting them to fit, and I was finding that the foot of the sock was too short for my feet. I have about size 9, Australian size 9 feet. But yeah, I was finding them a little bit short. So I've moved back to doing a heel flap and gusset because I find on my feet they just seem to fit a little bit better. And what else to tell you about these socks? They didn't take me very long. I hammered them out pretty quickly. They have been finished for quite a while, but because I haven't been recording these vlogs, I have not shared them with you guys, so I thought I would share them today. So these are my Cadence socks. My next finished item is also a pair of socks. So these have not had the ends woven in yet, but these are a pair of socks that have been knit from Knit Picks Felici. I got this yarn, I believe it was a free gift in a Knit Picks order that I placed quite a while ago, this colorway, which is called Present. So these are my most recent socks. I did knit them relatively quickly, but I did take a large gap between knitting sock 1 and sock 2. This pattern is called the Time Travelers Socks, and it was written by Liz Sedmak. These are just a simple rib sock and they're toe up, and they've got this really interesting heel construction. It creates like a triangle shaped heel. If I was to take this off, you'll see that the heel is very much a triangle. I find these fit quite nicely. They are unusual. Apart from this pattern, I don't think I've ever seen heels quite like this, but I do find that they fit quite well. I have knit these socks both with and without the ribs. I actually knit a pair of socks for Simon out of some Knit Picks Stroll, I believe it was. It was their Stroll tonal, and I used this pattern, but I didn't do any of the ribbing. I just did that heel and the from toe up. But yeah, these are it's a free pattern, so you can freely go and get this one. And yeah, I just enjoy this for a little bit of difference. I've just had a memory, I think I may have actually shown you guys my Cadence socks at some point, because I feel like I remember talking about wanting to try more pattern socks this year rather than just doing plain vanilla socks. So I guess this counts towards that. It's not a plain vanilla sock, it is just a simple rib. It is charted in the pattern for the rib sequence. So yeah, I guess I can say this is not just a vanilla sock. It has a little bit of something to it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what other socks I knit this year, because I don't have any plans as yet. I think I'm just going to find the yarn and find a pattern that fits with the yarn. So that will all be to be seen. I am getting very croaky this afternoon, but I'm just going to take a quick drink break. This is my Advent project, this next one that I'm going to talk about. I only showed a very tiny snippet of this in, I believe it was day 22 of my Vlogmas. That's the word. As you can see, my access to words has not gotten any better over the break, so you just have to deal with that. Anyway, I have started this blanket, and this is called the Safe Space Blanket. It is basically a blanket with join as you go hexagons. Now, you should all know, if you've been here for any length of time, that I love hexagons and geometric shapes. So when I saw this blanket, I just knew that I had to cast it on. I did actually cast on another blanket that was triangles, and I haven't decided if I'm going to continue with that one at this point. So I'm not sharing it because I don't know whether that'll get frogged or not. But this Safe Space blanket I am going to share with you because, like I said, it is from my 2022 Dark and Moody Advent Calendar. Basically, you start by doing a row of hexagons, and they get joined obviously in, you know, once you finish the hexagon and you change to the new colour. And then once you start column 2, you start joining them together as you knit. So on the back, it creates like this little double-sided little V channel up the back, which is really super cute if you ask me. And I could almost see that being the right side of this blanket, because I do really like the little seams that go up the blanket. But obviously, as you can see, all the ends on that side, that is not my right side. This is my right side. So I actually did not share this at all on my vlogs, because my Vlogmas, because I had not knit these in order, in day order, because I didn't open my yarn every day with everybody else. By the time I got to finishing the Advents, I was just so exhausted that I just decided I wasn't going to bag up my yarn like I did last year, that I was just going to go ahead and start knitting. And I actually started this project back in November, so I haven't been able to share it this whole time. I'm basically making it kind of a throw size. I don't know if I'm going to have enough yarn, honestly, so it's sort of just past my wingspan. It's kind of, yeah, it's about the same as my wingspan. So it's just enough to be able to drape it over my lap and have a little bit extra on either side, and then I'm just going to keep knitting it out row by row until I run out of yarn or it becomes the size that I wanted it. As part of my color arrangement in this, I just went quite random. I just chose colors that kind of contrasted with each other as it went down. I am using my whole skein in this project too, so this color here, it's here, it's here, is just sort of being dotted through the blanket as I go. And the way that I'm doing that is I'm doing 4 colors and then the whole skein, and then 4 colors and then the whole skein. And when I got to the end of my first row, this was my whole skein color, and then I just did 2 at the end, and that got me to the length that I needed. So I will slowly scan this in front of the camera so that you can get a good look to see the colours. I mean, obviously by the time it's here, I'm repeating colours, but you can get a good idea of what the Dark and Moody Advent Calendar was like. So I think this was day one. I know that for sure. I don't know any of the others, I don't believe. But if we keep rolling this up, yeah, so I tried to get a good cross section of colours across the rainbow, and some of them I hit the dark and moody, dark very loosely, but they're all mood. I mean, let's face it, it's all pretty moody. So I'm really happy with this. It's a quick little knit, like each hexagon doesn't usually take too much time. And this is kind of, I'm just working on this when the weather allows, because it has been quite warm here in Adelaide of late. We had a couple of really hot days last week. So yeah, I just don't really want to have a blanket sitting on my lap. Even though it is relatively narrow, it's not like it's a big blanket. Yeah, I just haven't really wanted to have that sitting on my lap in the heat. So I just work on that if and when I can. So I guess I could probably get on to what I've been sewing now, because that's, I think, all I have left. And now, where to start? Let's talk about this one first. I will just go and grab it. So this is a wall hanging for the side of my fridge. It looks a bit bigger now that it's off the fridge, but because I have set up my kind of my craft area here, if you know, in Vlogmas, I think it was day 15, you would have seen me tidying up this whole sort of area here behind my couch and setting up my craft area. That is my quilting sewing machine, plus all my rulers and scissors and everything. I felt like I needed something here to have on my fridge, so I created this bear claw. It was actually from a pattern that is supposed to be turned into a pillow. I saw a photo on Fabric Source's Instagram, and it was for a bear claw quilt, and I saw it and I thought it was really pretty, and I decided I wanted to make one. So I always had in mind that I would make a smaller one, because that was for, I think, a full-size quilt, 85 inches square or something. I always wanted to make it smaller, but then I had the idea that I'd like to create some wall hangings to put on the fridge, so that I've got something a little bit pretty in the background while I am recording these vlogs. And this is what is my first one, pretty much. I found this fabric collection here. This is called At First Sight, and it is from Riley Blake, and it is designed by Danny Mogstad, I believe is the name. I really love this fabric line, and normally when I'm buying fabric I would buy a layer cake, but I just did not have the money available to be able to afford the layer cake this time, so I just grabbed a charm square pack, which is the 5-inch stackers, and that's like 42 pieces of 5 by 5 inch fabric, and that is what I use to make this. So each of these squares here raw are 2.5 inches, so I'm able to get 4 from one charm square. And I basically whipped this up on Monday. I spent the whole day, well, not the whole day, but part of the day cutting and piecing this. In hindsight, I wish that I had done more. This is because this is done exactly how the pattern I was working asked me to, but in hindsight I think I would rather have done like whole piece sashing on these edges instead of piecing the little blocks in. And I think the pattern, because it was for a pillow, I'm assuming, you know, that would kind of roll around on the pillow. It's not quite as obvious. But for a wall hanging, I feel like this is kind of a bit distracting. I mean, it might be better once I get the backing, like the batting and the backing on it, and it's actually quilted. That maybe will disguise that a little bit more. But yeah, I've just got the top done at the moment, so there's nothing on the back. It's literally just the top. And yeah, I've just been hanging it up on my fridge with magnets for the moment, because I don't have a better system as yet. I guess once I start building up a collection of wall hangings to go on my fridge, I will have to come up with something a little bit better than magnets to hold them up, because I don't think magnets are going to hold it up once it's all got batting in it anyway. I really like this. Most of it came together pretty well. I think most of my like my joins, like my intersections came out pretty well. I only snipped off a couple of points around the whole top. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with this. I might pop it back up on the fridge and talk about the next thing. Okay, so this next project is one that I have spoken about before on the vlog, and that was back, like I said, in August, so it's been a while. And I've kind of got the thought that at least for the first half of 2023, I'm going to try and get some quilt projects, like ones that the top is either finished or very close to being finished, getting the tops complete and getting them sandwiched and quilted. So this is the first one that I have started working on. This quilt I don't love. I've spoke about that last time when I spoke about it, but this is the Turnabout Granny Squares quilt that I was making. If you recall, this fabric range was a quilt kit that I purchased from Spotlight many years ago, right after I got married in 2013, because I had purchased fat quarters to make sewn flowers, fabric flowers from my bouquet and my bridesmaid and maid of honours bouquet. I bought the kit because it had the fabric that I had used in a lot of my fabric flowers. But now, nearly 10 years later, I don't love the fabric anymore. Like, it's just not something that I would want now that I'm a little bit older, what I'd want hanging around my house, let's say. Not that it's bad, it's just not to my taste anymore. So I really wanted to get this one finished, and it's going to be very hard to show you this, but it's all the way up to, it's been bound. I just need to get on with hand binding and like sewing the binding to the back. So you kind of can see it's basically just 12 squares, 12 of these granny square shapes, and just some sashing through it. So I did a quilting pattern, just straight line quilting with my walking foot. I don't know if you can see it quite there. So these lines are about 2 inches apart, and I've crossed them over in the center. But what I did is I basically did diagonal lines that crossed over in the center, and then as you get to the center, let's see if I can get the lighting right. Probably not. I probably won't be able to. Kind of, if I scroll up a little bit, just made it into diamonds in the center. So it's kind of diagonal lines, they cross over in the 4 midpoints, and then it turns into a diamond in the center. So I was pretty pleased with how the quilting came together. Not all my lines are straight, I will say that. I think overall, once it's washed and things like that, it's probably going to be quite fine. You won't notice that it's too skewiff or or wobbly. So for my binding, I just used, because these were jelly strips, I cut 2.5 inch strips of these fabrics. So I had a bunch of them left over, so I just sewed them sort of end to end and created a multicolored binding for it. The quilt kit came with a big piece of this sort of, I guess kind of like pebbles, kind of like bricks or something, backing to match the other fabrics. So I of course put that on the back, and yeah, like I said, all I've got to do now is just fold back the binding and sew it down. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this quilt when I'm finished with it. I am thinking possibly it'll end up in my shop, but at least it is very close to being done, which means that I can move on to the next quilt that is nearly finished, that just needs to be sandwiched and quilted. And in between all of this, I have been working on yet another quilt. So I started this, when did I start it? I'm not quite sure. It was a little while ago anyway, but I did speak about this project during Vlogmas, and it is the Hens and Chicks quilt, which is a design from Missouri Star Quilt Co. And if that sounds familiar and you are a viewer of their channel, it was a pattern that Misty created for their triple play on Churn Dash blocks, I believe it was. I am using some very lovely fabric. It is here in a plastic bag but I will show it to you. It is called Sonnet Dusk, and it is from Riley Blake Fabrics, and it is designed by Corey Chef. So it is incredible. This fabric is like so stinking pretty. Let's try and get rid of some shine. So we've got lots of florals, we've got mauves and greys and pinks and teals, and even mustard, which is a colour I don't like yellow, but I am growing more fond of mustard. So yeah, I love this fabric. It is so pretty. And I just love, where are they? These moths through the fabric. So I've been really enjoying this range and enjoying this project. So I might show you a few of the squares. So as part of this pattern, you're basically making churn dash blocks, which I will show you what that looks like. They look like this. So you've got half square triangles in the corners and then these bar blocks in between. It's a very big quilt, and I'm not sure if I'm going to make it as big as what it is written, and if I do, I'm thinking that this might be the first quilt that I send for professional quilting, because I feel like it is too pretty for me to mess up with my bad quilting skills at the moment. So I'm going to be investigating that to see how much it's going to cost. But that is a churn dash block, so I'll quickly scroll through some of these that I have made already. I've done, I think 12 of these large ones I've done already. But like this fabric here, it's just so pretty. I mean, look at that. That floral, and I love these little pops of like navy and the mustardy kind of orangey yellow. And, you know, obviously that pinky mauve colour. It's just like my aesthetic all over. Oop, and I've just picked up two, and one is the fabric that I wanted to show you because it's the same as that pink of the first one, but with the grey background, so it makes the flowers and the moths pop a little bit more. So basically the pattern involves a bunch of these big ones. It's half these big ones and half these blocks. So as I said, the pattern is called Hens and Chicks. So these are your chicks and those big ones are your hens. So I just really wanted to try making this block first up, but because I'm using that layer cake, obviously it's 10 inches square, each layer cake creates four identical squares. So I haven't done any more of these mini ones because I need to have all different fabrics, because I don't want all of my squares to look identical to this. So I want to be able to I just wanted to do this so I could try making the block and see what it looks like. But then I'm going to have to create all of these little mini ones and then shuffle them all up so all of the chicks blocks look different. So that's the Hens and Chicks quilt. That is where we're at. As I said, this is a very big quilt. It has 42 squares, 42 blocks, and the bigger churn dashes are actually relatively easy to make. They don't take too long, but the mini churn dash, just simply for the fact that they're smaller and I have to make so many more of them, I basically need to make 4 times the amount of them, are going to take a little while. So I think this is like probably going to be a bit of a long-term project, especially if I'm going to be working on finishing off other quilts that are almost done. So yeah, I guess just watch this space, and hopefully eventually sometime this year I will have the Hens and Chicks quilt finished. And that's about all she wrote for projects that I have been working on. As I said, it's been quite warm here. Simon had last week off work. He just had the 1 week, or 9 days in a row I suppose, including the weekends. But yeah, we didn't do a lot because it was very hot. We basically hid in our house with the blinds drawn and our air conditioner going, which has, I think, packed it in. Unfortunately, at this point we are only aware of one of our 3 air conditioners working, and I think it's died. So we are in a bit of a state. Thankfully, Simon's stepdad had some old air conditioners that he got, I don't know how or why, but he has some more window rattler air cons that they're going to bring one over. They have one that will fit in our lounge room, so thankfully, hopefully by the weekend we will have air conditioning again. We had it running on, when was it, Tuesday last week, and it was 40 degrees, I think, and it was doing really well for the morning, and then as soon as it got hot, it just stopped blowing cold air, and we couldn't get it to blow cold air again, even since, on different days. So we think it's dead. But yeah, we do have a newer one coming. This one is so old, like I'm looking at it now, and it is like that real dated brown fake wood grain kind of window rattler kind of air conditioner. So I'd say it's pretty old. You know, I doubt it is as old as the house that we're in, because it was built in 1977, but I would say that's probably definitely a good 80s. I honestly have not seen anything look like that in any of, like, brand new at any point that I'm like I can remember, like from the 90s or whatever. So I would say it's like at the very outset it would be an 80s model air conditioner. So I think it's about time we had a new one, but thankfully we're able to get a free one, because there's no way we can afford to get air conditioning put in. So we had a nice Christmas. It was very quiet. We ended up having Christmas Day roll into Boxing Day, because Simon and I always take cheese for Christmas Day, cheese and bickies, and have a big setup. And we basically, the family, with the amount of cheese that we ate, and then we had the seafood course, and my mother-in-law always gets a bunch of prawns and lobsters and yumminess. I think they have oysters too. Simon and I don't eat oysters, so we basically just had some prawns and some lobster, and that kind of finished us off. None of us had space, neither Simon nor I had space to eat anymore, and we all just kind of passed out in the afternoon and just sort of had naps. I didn't have a very good nap. Simon had quite a long nap. I didn't, because I was too busy worrying about Granger, because Granger was with us and he was interested in the pool, so I don't want him going near the pool without supervision. So I was trying to babysit Granger rather than having a nap. But I think we came home 4 o'clock-ish, maybe it was closer to 6, and still we didn't want to eat anything. So you can imagine how much cheese and seafood we had prior. And basically Simon's mum said, well, come back tomorrow and we'll eat the roast meats and the ham. So that is what we did. And I baked cinnamon rolls. We didn't eat those until Boxing Day either. And then yeah, like basically last week we just sort of hung around. We didn't do a whole lot. We did have a day where we Simon and I like to go to cash converters, because we like to buy things secondhand. We tend not to go as much as we can brand new. We try to be a little bit more sort of, I guess, eco-conscious and buy things secondhand. And so we went on a cash converters crawl the other day. We went to a bunch of shops, struck out on just about all of them until we got to the last one, and we got a bunch of stuff, and it was all 20% off as well, so that was good. I got some hand weights because I'm going to get into doing some more workouts this year, and I only had 6 kilo kettlebells, and they're a little bit heavy to begin with, I think, so I got some 2 kilo dumbbells. And I ended up getting Animal Crossing for the Switch, and that is something that I've wanted for a little while, but it's not on special anywhere, like, or $69 I think as the cheapest, has been that price everywhere for pretty much since it came out. So like, how long has it been since Animal Crossing came out? Like maybe 2 years or something. And we happened across a boxless cartridge at this final cash converters, and it was $39 marked down 20%, so I think it was about $32. So I was thrilled with that. So I have a new game that I have been playing, which is a lot of fun. But that's kind of where we're at. I have a bunch of self-striping that I need to be working on, and I'm working on some ideas for some really fun yarn clubs this year. And I think I might leave it there, because like I said, not much going on around here. There never really is. It's only the craft stuff and hanging out with my husband is pretty much the sum total of it. So I will let you guys go. I hope you have at least enjoyed what I've shown you today. And yeah, I really hope that you all had, like I said, a wonderful Christmas period, whether you celebrate or not. I hope you got to have a bit of a rest and a bit of a recoup before 2023. And yeah, here's to a good year. Hopefully it is better for me than last year was. I guess all there is left to say is happy knitting, happy crafting, happy quilting, happy all the things. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye.